This may be the first of many clips today, and since it's going to be a long one, I certainly don't mind that at all. It's 8:12 a.m., Tuesday the 14th of April 2026. It's going to be a novelty to kind of start having to pay attention to what day it is again. I've gotten to the point where, like, the only day that I really think anything about is Sunday, and that's just because I'm like, am I in a place that doesn't sell beer on Sundays, you know? So that one I feel like still pops up. Like, I'm like, it's been a long time since the last time I had this this inkling of a worry. Seems like enough days have passed for it to feel like a feasible threat. But anyway, I was just having this fantasy. I was thinking about a bunch of different things, and then they all kind of collapsed into like a coherent thing. I don't really know why. I can't remember. Maybe it has something to do with the actual musical Hamilton itself. I was just listening to music. I was not listening to Hamilton, but I started thinking about going to San Francisco and like why I want to do that and what success looks like theoretically before I try doing it. And I guess I kind of know what failure looks like. I feel like that's what I experienced last time. You know, I maybe in a different era, maybe in the earlier 2000s, you know, when I was 10 years old, maybe it would have been viewed as like an interesting quirk to hear that someone was biking cross country for the hope of a job, you know. I don't know. There's so much dispersed media outlets now. It's hard to even imagine how difficult it would be to actually find that story if it was even ever printed anywhere, you know. But yeah, I was thinking about San Francisco and Hamilton, and there's this one of the more famous songs. Like, Hamilton was never on my radar until 2019. I had heard a lot of good things about it from people who I respected their opinion. Mostly, I guess, comedians. Probably, particularly, I feel like maybe it was Paul F. Tompkins, but, you know, someone whose opinion I respect, who I feel like understands good art in a similar way that I might understand good art. Because I think if you're a person who, like, if you lean towards comedy as like a way to view and behave in life through, which, you know, I'm not a comedian, but I would say to the best of my comfort levels, I try to pursue life as if I were a comedian, you know? Like, I'm looking for like the deeper, funny meaning to everything that is, you know, tragically still just my opinion and just my perspective. But I do enjoy wrapping myself up in these theoretical possibilities, especially when listening to music and being outside, you know? And that's what I'm saying when I'm talking about a post-labor society. I'm like, dude, you know, I don't really want to have a job, respectfully. I mean, I'm about to go on a massive journey to pursue one. But if someone was like, hey, you can just do whatever you want to do. You can go anywhere you want to go. There's no hierarchy anymore. You're a human being. We have systems in place to keep us all safe. Like, if you want to go talk to the president of the United States, you can. If there's even such a position to be held by people anymore by that point. But, you know, like, man, I'm so off base here now. I'm gonna just go back to Hamilton. But there's this song, Hamilton, and I feel like it's one of the more popular ones, so it might have just been quoted in pop culture. But I guess what I was trying to say was that I never really knew about Hamilton when it was actually popular. I found out like much later, so all the hype was gone. So, you know, I missed the moment of like it being a part of the cultural conversation, and perhaps like actually not knowing several references people were making. or how to attribute them. But in any case, like the thing, okay, so, let's erase like 75% of what I just said, and let's just move forward with like this Hamilton thing. I feel like I'm about to be contradicting myself a lot, but just suspend your disbelief, or at least just indulge the fact that I don't mind being contradictory. But so Hamilton has this song called "The Room Where It Happens." I believe that's the title, and it's about Hamilton, Alexander Hamilton. He like wants to be in the room where like important conversations and I guess documents, for lack of a better, I guess that's really what they were doing. They were doing a lot of writing, like writing like short essays and putting together like intensely legal documentation for the country. Anyway, Hamilton, like had a rough childhood. I don't remember a lot of the details. And it was a tragic story, that part I remember. But, he didn't have anything. And then he, I guess, got really jazzed on the United States, which is such a cute concept. But, like I kind of feel that way about AI. Like, I want to be in the room when it happens, like not that there's like even a specific it, but like everything that happens within the walls of that building, like if that was part of my daily life, like if I was getting paid to not only consume but also produce the content like that these companies put out, like I would just be like, dude, I've arrived. Like I think, I've never really been one who like gets excited about like concerts or like parties or anything like that. Like all of those things make me feel anxious at best, like a really loud concert. I don't really think that it's like anything for me personally. I don't think it's a diagnosable thing, because I can definitely do it and it doesn't like ruin my world. But historically, I honestly, when I think about concerts and stuff, all I think about is just like some of the worst stomach aches I ever had for whatever reason. I guess anxiety. They were at concerts, and I'm just like, I Pavlovianly I associate concerts with stomach aches, and that's like no fun. Stomach aches, it's certainly one of my least favorite sensations, just so distracting. I'm kind of struggling with it right now because I had a huge breakfast, but anyway, yeah, being in the room where it happens, like, I don't know, I was like fantasizing a little bit about like what I'll do differently this time to like integrate myself, because again, I put down a few tendrils, like a few exploratory, sacrificial, non-committal tendrils into like the community. And I liked the bike shop that I volunteered at. The guys there were pretty cool. It's a good way to spend a Wednesday night or whatever it is. Yeah, actually know people from San Francisco, but that's not really what I was fantasizing about. I was more so fantasizing about like respectfully. I'm not trying to talk about anything technically criminal, but like crashing social occasions or just like putting myself out there. I don't know. I would assume like groups of people probably get together in that area. When I was out there, I feel like I had the sense that more people than average were certainly involved in tech, people who I would meet from the area while biking, get a little conversation, because I had all my bags and everything, so I was a bit of a spectacle. But yeah, just like, dude, I don't know. Like I was listening to this Notebook LM podcast about the 2017 paper by Google that basically introduced the transformer architecture that is now used by AI for the transformations, and just listening to that, like all the math and everything was pretty far outside of my scope, like I never really even fully grasped like sine, cosine, and anti-cosine. What do you guys call it? I don't even know. Like, I know that all that stuff was geometric and a certain way of figuring out something better than more simple math. But I never got it. But it's a bummer because like I can tell some of these concepts might be a little bit more graspable if I could at least recall doing halfway well during math in school. I'm so bad at math that I pay $20 for a $3 bus ride, and I call it a tip. I don't even think you can like mathematically frame the absurdity of that equation, my dude. But yeah, want to be in the room where it happens. There was something else I thought about, and I was like, oh, I could talk about that for a while, but it kind of shuffled out of the way. I am going up a hill right now. Not the worst hill I've ever gone up, especially considering it's like early in the morning and it's still cool. The sun hasn't even crested the tops of the trees yet. This is going to be a long day. 34 miles, like it's not going to be too crazy, but it is going to be long. I'm sure I'll be ready to be done far before I am. I think I don't know if boring is the right word. Maybe, well, it's an unfortunate thing, isn't it? Like, I'm thinking, like, the last 4 miles to my parents' house today is a 4-mile stretch that I know very, very, very well. Like, I couldn't really do this, but let's say, I know it almost as well, or to such a degree that, like, I could draw you a, like, correct representation of even the way, like, the grid of the sidewalk is laid out, like I can count the imprints between blocks, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just saying I have a lot of familiarity, but yeah, like, well, I don't know I guess it's interesting because it kind of feels like I have like a get out of jail free card a little bit, since like I know I don't have to do this tomorrow. So it's not quite as exhausting, if I'm honest, because at that point it really does just feel literally like a victory lap at this point. And if that is the case, then this day should be a celebration, like, it's like, hey, good job, like, you found out what you wanted to do next. Like, that's great. Like, that was the reason, maybe not implicitly, but that was certainly a valid answer to why I went on the trail to begin with. It's just like, well, every time I've been on the Appalachian Trail, it's like, I don't know, something happens, I've never quit it before, but, I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say that what I feel like I've gotten is any less impactful than as compared to any of the other times I've been out here. I feel like you can't really compare the experiences because it's, again, like, what metric are you even appealing to? I guess maybe instead of like the trail giving you gifts, though, it more so gives you lessons. And every time you go out, you're shuffling the deck, and you're gonna get a completely different hand. It's still the game of cards. There's still 52 of them or whatever. Can't do math that well. I'm so bad at math I struggle to even say numbers, you know? Like, it's just, oof. I don't actually think I'm that bad at math, but now I feel like it's going to be like a part of my brand, and I don't mind indulging it, because it's not like I'm great, but I'm competent. Anyway, like, you know, dude, I don't even know. What else? Well, I guess we can go over the chronology, and then if anything else comes to mind, I can work that in. But yeah, there was... It was a pretty relaxed evening, you know. I didn't end up getting a burrito. I was like, well, I probably should. Like, you know, my metabolism hasn't like stopped. If I don't eat anything, I'll probably wake up, or it might be a contributing condition to me not being able to sleep, you know. I've got like bars and stuff like that, you know, to get me here and there in between, but you know, there's something that happens psychologically with a meal, you know. But yeah, the train, all the things that I expected to be the case pretty much were, you know. Like, I actually fell asleep pretty quickly, sometime, like, it was before 9:30, which is kind of amazing. And I woke up at like midnight, just kind of jolted awake. I was pretty hot, which, again, when you're on Amtrak, that is something that, like, even I, as someone who spends a ton of time having to only reactively regulate my body temperature to the environment, like, I noticed big time Amtrak, like, it'll get pretty cold, right? And then maybe they'll turn that off, and then it'll get like really stuffy and hot, and then they'll turn the air back on, and that's pretty much the Amtrak climate control that I have experienced, you know. So didn't sleep well at all. That's actually another interesting part of today. It's because, like, if I didn't know that today was like my last day, and I had to think about that I was now like slightly, well, maybe fairly drastically sleep deprived compared to usual. Like, I think I slept for 5 hours if I was lucky. I feel like that might even be a gross over exaggeration. I certainly slept for at least 3, but in any case, what am I talking about? Yeah, just a fitful evening. Very, very, very uncomfortable. But that worked out as I hoped it would, even though in the moment it sucks, you know. It's just like, man, like, I'm so desperate for I had to keep like switching different parts of my body to be on the actual seat, you know, because it was like, it would get so numb, like certain weird parts of your body that don't typically get numb, like they get all numb because you're just trying to sleep in a seat, and it's like insane. I mean, every Amtrak I feel like I've ever been on, the places where you can sit and coach, you usually have a seat and then a seat next to you, which is pretty nice, believe you me. And, you know, short of like crawling into the fetal position as an adult, there's really nothing comfortable that can be said about Amtrak. Now, I've never gone into the sleeper cars or anything like that. That to me has always been prohibitively expensive, and like, I don't really see the point or very much novelty to paying to sleep on a train, like in a bed kind of way, especially when the markup, at least in the ones that I've looked at, it's like 5 times more expensive, you know. To be fair, I guess my dude, shout out to E.T. E.T. did say that when you got a sleeper car, it included meals and stuff like that. So I've never read the fine print, but I saw the number and I was too scared to read. So yeah, maybe Amtrak can be a much more pleasant experience. I will grant them that. I will just, I can't report to say that I've ever honestly had it. But in any case, I was up at 6, and I don't really know why they were so particular with the Toccoa stop, but like, I don't know, maybe they did this for everybody, but the guy, whoever was like, I don't know even what to call them, the maitre d'. Dude, this is a long hill. It's yeah, I guess most of the elevation. Okay, yeah. It's funny. Looking at the elevation chart, it feels like being on trail. But yeah, I think I have to climb 2,000 plus feet. I have to get up to the valley or the plateau or whatever it is. And then just some rolling hills after that, you know. I think it's technically United States Bike Route 85. Like, it's funny. I don't know if they were having a clearance sale years ago or what, but all the signs for roads that are concurrently running along highways that are like, you know, like just signs that say like there's a bike route here. Like, maybe be aware that you might see people on bikes in this area, you know. Those signs are always so incredibly small. And I mean, I think the ones that they have that are like normal, that just like show a bike on a diamond-shaped sign, like, that's fine enough. But, you know, if you're gonna have like designated routes and have that mean anything at all to the people who use them and to the people who surround them, it's got to be more than just in a book, you know. Because I'll say, USBR 85 doesn't look like it would be a very good bike route. Maybe, you know, 30 or 50 years ago, when the roads were different, perhaps that was a different story back then, you know. That's fair. I can imagine that it was probably a very, very different experience to bike out here prior to everything making its way out here before me, like, you know, suburban sprawl type stuff, grocery stores and new houses. So yeah, maybe, I'm sure it must be, but USBR 85 now is like, you know, I would certainly ride it, but if someone told me, hey, this is actually a bike route, I think I would, I'd think that they were pulling my leg, because I'm just like, it shows absolutely no forethought for or current use of what this street like allows on it, you know, like, especially with people possibly being on their phones, you know, while they're driving. We don't want to interrupt that, of course, but, you know, like, more signs that are larger and have specific information, you know, I don't know, make a TikTok out of it. Do something. But that's just a personal rant. You don't actually have to do anything. I have no affiliation whatsoever with, I have no knowledge of who I'm actually addressing. Like, a part of me thinks, am I talking about the Adventure Cycling Association? And I'm like, well, I don't think that, like, I'm not sure that USBR 85 is under their jurisdiction necessarily. Could be though, I have no idea. But what I do know is that this hill is very long, and I'm impressed because I've driven here before, and I certainly didn't get any kind of sense that, like, the town was in such a depression, a valley, you know? Like, this is a legit hill. Like, this would be a fun hill to bike up. That was something I realized last night as I fought for seconds of sleep, you know. I was like, oh, I haven't biked for like 40 days. Like, I'm excited to bike again, you know. All this walking, it's flung a craving on me, you know. I'm ready to bike. Walking is so dreadfully slow, you know. But yeah, so I was up And I got off, I think we arrived at like 6:40 something. We were a little early. Impressive. And it just seemed like a real quick, like smash and go kind of job, like the people, like I was trying to say earlier before I interrupted myself. They like basically, they asked me like 5 minutes before we even got to the stop, like they took me over to the door and they were like, you know, just jump and don't look back. You know, and I was just like, okay, well, fair enough. I wouldn't want to be here either. You know, it's also really nice that this road is so sparsely trafficked. I mean, I know it's 8:37 on a Tuesday, and I also can't really predict what the behavior of this road is like on any given day, just because, I mean, something like this would never exist in Atlanta, you know? Like, if this was just a road in Atlanta, I think I would know what to expect for sure. But, yeah, this is just so much more geographically significant, you know? This road would probably be longer than, like, Peachtree Street or something. I don't know if that's probably not true. But maybe it is. I don't know. I don't know how long this road is. Get into what I would comfortably say is definitely a false summit. But hey, you know, as I always like to say, there's nothing to make 7% feel like 5%, like 12%, you know? Like, you get those steep, if your baseline is extreme steepness, anything less than that is such a reward. I'm just like, man, I spent so much time biking up here, and it really is extremely grueling. Like, it's as hard as it was in Asheville. It's like something about this, the geography of this specific northeast Georgia and then western North Carolina. Like, I don't know, man. Those mountains they got mad at each other. They like, you know, punched each other. They're all so aggressively shaped, you know, just grueling. So anyway, yeah. I went to this cafe, which was really nice. I got a large latte and some kind of like, I don't even know, Cuban-inspired breakfast sandwich. It was very good. Certainly enjoyed. And then I hit the road at like 7:45 or something like that. Yeah, man, this road is unpredictable. You know, it's interesting too. I've heard, I don't know if this is like no book outline will tell me, but like there's something about us as a species that when we're driving, like we end up usually like traveling in little bunches, you know? Like, I don't know, I heard this explained to me by someone who, at least in my memory, was telling me as if it was a paraphrasing of a scientific study. Might have been a podcast, I have no idea. But yeah, it's interesting if that is true, just to think about like why that is true. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious from a biological lens, but it's interesting to see it in this specific embodiment because, you know, like it makes sense if you are out traveling in the world, right? That you would have a companion, like someone from your tribe, you know? Like you're probably not going to go into the woods by yourself. Like there are just so many tasks that are made infinitely easier by having one extra set of hands, you know? Like 2 people can physically save each other in ways that go far beyond how much one person can save themselves. So that's the baseline that I'm assuming here. And so consciously or not, or perhaps it's, again, not so mysterious, but maybe just a transaction of the way the roads are built to where people, you know, obviously are coming to lights and stuff like that. But apparently this behavior occurs also on interstates where those wouldn't be factors as much. But yeah, you know, whatever it is socially, even though the people in the cars around us are not likely, well, it's almost a certainty that you don't know them, but at least they're also in a car, you know? It's like a trans tribal, like, expression of a certain type of human being. It's like, hey man, I am at least functional enough to have this car, you know? In the rare instances where someone steals a car, obviously, different story. But, like, you know, by and large, even if people report otherwise, I think, you know, we generally trust each other, you know? Like, I think it's absurd because, like, the reason we're less friendly is because of all the stuff we've heard that we can do, you know? Like the terrible, terrible things that are in the news all the time. And so, you know, you're going into Target, and you're like, man, I'm anxious that someone might be here who wants to hurt me, you know? Like, that's wild. Can't even imagine. Like, but anyway, yes. Am I still talking about this bunching thing? Yeah, I don't know. It just makes sense. Oh yeah, the trans-tribal, like, embodiment. Yeah, it's just like, you know, it's, well, I don't know. Surely there have been similar things in the past with other civilizations, like if you had a horse, maybe, or if you had like a servant, maybe, people would see you in public and, like, you know, there would be an expected script about the kind of general person that you were, you know. And so, yeah, just interesting. So I don't think that we consciously think that we're trying to bunch up for safety. And I think that probably would make people mad to consider it if it was true. Because, you know, that sounds like something that's scared and weak, you know. And hey, arguably we are. But boy, does that hurt the ego, huh? And so, yeah, you know, I just think that it's cute. Like, just sounds like a bunch of puppies all laying on top of each other, you know, and then following each other when they go other places, you know. It's like, yeah, it's just expected behavior, but it's interesting trying to observe it from a less anthropomorphized lens, like trying to take out of account that I have actually lived a human's life. And so my abilities to critically examine it are very difficult because the thing I'm looking at, in order to look at myself, it's like it's the object and it's also the instrument, I guess, something like that. I was seeing something in my head, like a telescope, like a Klein glass. You know, like a Klein glass is this weird geometric thing where its inside is also its outside. And so I saw like myself as a Klein glass and also like a microscope, you know, like just a fluid object. Like I can't do that, can't do it very well, but I can pretend, you know. I don't remember who it was. I want to say it was Oliver Sacks, but I think I'm pretty wrong about that. But someone wrote a whole book about like what it would be like to be a bat from like I don't know, they struck me. There was definitely some kind of an academic. I don't know what they were. And yeah, I'm at a gas station now. I think I need to get some water. I'm currently not carrying any, which has been nice. Only 3.5 miles, wow. Okay, it's gonna be a long day. 3.5 miles, wow. It's already starting to warm up too. Let me pause this. All right, got some water, which is good. You know, it's gonna be a long day, as I said, and I don't want to set myself up for failure, you know. It's important, especially if you know what kind of a day you're gonna have, you know, like, you know, a couple of decades for me at this point of a lot of trial and error of like going out and basically being like, you know, how long can I be outside? you know, which is funny because it's true. I've never really thought about it like that, but I basically have gamified being outdoors for myself. You know, it's like, okay, what do I like to do? It's like, well, you know, I really like that feeling at the end of a very active day when you finally get to eat the thing that you've been thinking about eating for like the majority of that day, and to have a little carbonated recovery beverage with your evening meal to kind of just feel like a little, I don't know, I consider it like a doffing of the cap, or a doffing of the cap. You know, you're like telling your nervous system like, hey, good job. Here's a little drizzle of dopamine, you know? Just like nothing crazy. You know, something I'm sure, I mean, obviously anything can be abused, okay? There are people, I don't know, anything can be abused. If it's a material object that does something for you, either internally or externally, there's a possibility of abuse there. Some things more than others, sure, but in any case, yeah, it's interesting for me to think about that I basically have gamified my outdoor experience, because like what I was trying to say before I interrupted myself, I think maybe I should rename my podcast like Before I Interrupt Myself or something like that, or Sorry for Interrupting Myself, I Interrupted Me, I don't know. Anyway, you know, 34 miles, roughly speaking, is going to be like 9 or 10 hours probably. Like, it is completely on the road, and, you know, the conditions will play a factor so that it's, you know, plus or minus an hour maybe, but it's certainly in that range, you know. 34 miles a big day. That's like, how many times, am I talking, am I giving myself a pep talk, or am I trying to scare myself? I don't know. A little of both, I guess. I mean, the best pep talks probably have a little bit of fear thrown in, you know, powerful motivator. But speaking of fear, let me make sure I'm going the right way, because that's always a good thing to check. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, there's no other road, and it goes directly to 985, and much as my ability to trace the sidewalk going in and out of Clayton, Georgia, like, I'm very, very, maybe even more so familiar with just like, at least what it feels like to drive 985. It is heavily imprinted, you know. There's probably parts of it that I can navigate better than my childhood home at this point, you know, like playing around in those neighborhoods. Like, I knew about little secret areas, you know, just from exploring, like, you know, realizing that you can't just do the same path over and over and over again, and then kind of realizing that, like, sometimes, God, this is going to sound so cliche, but it's literally true. Sometimes you have to make your own path, like, you know, like connecting things that aren't technically connected, aka trespassing. Like, you know, going down roads that you've seen forever. This is really a very personal description of me. Like, I don't know how much people romanticize human infrastructure outdoors. Because if you think about it, if you frame it in a certain kind of way, like, if you really stretched your definition of like a theme park, you know, if humans enjoy nature at all, sure, this is like a heavily groomed and manufactured version that's also interspersed with like a complete lack of nature. But like right now it's pretty cool, you know. I'm actually going by a really cool picnic area that at another time I certainly would have probably at least stopped for a cup of coffee, but not today. We've got missions. It seems more advantageous probably to take 4 15-minute breaks rather than doing a complete hour, kind of like power breaks, you know. When I'm doing like a normal day, I guess I've never really talked about my actual strategy. That's a shame. But yeah, when I'm doing a normal day, my favorite thing to do is like do a pretty big push right out of the gate, like maybe as many as 4 hours without stopping. You know, for me personally, those are probably in most cases the easiest 4 hours I'll have for the day, you know? And so really getting into a good rhythm, which, you know, maybe this is part also of why I enjoy my mornings so much, and I don't feel like I need to like meter out my own time. Like all I need to do is do all of the things that I enjoy doing, because I know that they're finite, you know? I'm not going to get to a point in my mornings where there's a continuous task, you know? Everything has a discrete ending, and it's a sequence, and part of it is like relaxing, you know? It's just like, maybe I'll have a second cup of coffee. It feels like a good idea, you know? And you're like, sure, yeah, man, why not? You're on vacation. What, you gonna not have a cup of coffee? Like, come on, you know? But yeah, that first push when you're feeling really good. I'm technically in that window right now, actually. Not very impressed so far. Well, I guess I've been on the road for about an hour. What was I at? How many miles have I did? 3 Okay, well, yeah, I guess I have about a 3.8 mile an hour pace, which actually is really good considering I'm going uphill. It feels slow and it feels laborious, but it's not actually, again, it's not a bad hill. But anyway, yeah, so a normal day, you know, after that push, I guess when hunger really starts to creep in again and the idea of another cup of coffee sounds right, like I'll start looking at the map, you know. It depends if I'm in the trail, on the trail or in the woods, or sorry, on the roads. Because, you know, if you could do a ridiculous push to get to like a gas station and that would be worth it. Like, I'm sure I have done that. Just like do 15 miles with no break. You know, it's like over 5 hours of walking. It's crazy. Yeah, anyway, it doesn't matter. My whole point is just, usually I take 1 hour break on a normal day because it's very, very relaxing. Like an hour is plenty of time to just like, you know, sit back, enjoy a break from your podcasts with another podcast. I think I sometimes actually do have like podcasts that I would consider more so for breaks than for like active listening while doing stuff, you know. I guess that kind of depends on my mood. But anyway, you know, have a good lunch that's like, it's a full portion meal. Like I eat the same sized meal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So, you know, it's not a massive calorie dump. It's not like a ton of sugar or, well, I mean, what it was just, I would have coffee, a breakfast essential, a thing of tuna that was only 250 calories, but it had other stuff in it, and then usually almonds and mayo. There was a period where I was making ramen, but the night that I got sick, I had eaten ramen, and if you can believe it, ever since that night, I haven't had very much of an appetite for ramen noodles. Never really did. They always tasted like, I don't know, something tasted like they weren't good for you, but maybe that's just me. I don't know if there's I don't even know how there could be factual basis to that, but I don't know. What is it? I guess as a child, I'm sure I had it, and I was like, this is like some really weird spaghetti. Like, what is this stuff? Like, you know, I didn't have any context for it. I know it's obviously Asian, but as I think about my first like experience with it, which I'm sure is the one that still peppers my understanding today, like I just had this vague memory of being quite young, like less than 10, So I think I would have lived in Orlando. I don't know if this is like a real memory, but there's something that comes out through the shadows. And it's like me being hungry and then me making ramen. And, if I was less than 10, I don't even know if I could read back then, like, let alone follow directions. I seem to have a bit of a memory of willfully or not being a little defiant, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I wasn't that age. It's hard to say. But yeah, just like having them, probably using too much water, probably not microwaving them long enough, and then having them and just being like, ugh, this tastes terrible. Which it probably did. I bet people who like ramen would have agreed with me. But hey, as a kid, you don't got time. You gotta shoot first and ask questions later. So ramen's forever filed away as like a lesser than food. It's a bummer. I wonder if there's well, I'm sure there is. Yeah, equals and opposites being what they are. Dude, this hill is extremely long. Like, I have a vague memory of noting that Toccoa was like remarkably low elevationally compared to the surrounding areas. But this walk is really putting it into perspective for me. Because I'm just like, wow, like this is like a 1,000-foot climb. Like, that's pretty crazy. Topographically, I guess, I was also never really that good at geography. But, yeah, it makes me wonder. I feel like this is such an obvious, like, you should know the answer to the question kind of question, but, I just can't help because I don't know. But, like, maybe this is, like, the very meaningful beginning of the mountains, like right here, right where I am, like right now. Not that there's not a single one, but as someone who is transitioning from like the Piedmont area or whatever the flatter areas are called, it's like this is the first time you access it from this road, like in this exact coordinate. And it's just like, dang, I can feel it, my dude. It feels like I'm still in, maybe Virginia was graded a little bit better. I was just praising how crazy steep and punishing Georgia hills are. Like, this is actually an excellent example, although it's a relatively new road, so it's a little bit more tame. I feel like, the surveyors and road designers up here have softened over the past number of years to try to make things a little bit more accessible with a little less wear and tear, a little bit more rock and roll, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I can only assume, since the right-hand lane is finally about to end, which was the climbing lane, that this is the top. Yeah, I mean, nothing to write home about, especially if you've walked up a hill before, but certainly a little bit more interesting to think about because I have a little bit of context for the surrounding area, which I guess is something that's also lost on me on the Appalachian Trail, which is kind of unfortunate, but I don't know. Do I even have enough time in the day to meaningfully understand the architecture or the geography of the Appalachian Trail and the surrounding areas? I don't think so. Like I do like that I know that I'm going up to a very specific ridge right now that I've biked on and walked on and driven on. And I'm actually approaching it like a hiker, There's a weird thing that happens, Notebook LM, feel free to enlighten me, but there's a weird thing that happens for me anyway, and so I must assume I'm not alone, as is my default. But it's harder to be adventurous close to home, I'm not sure why that is. Maybe because it's like more of a sacred space. I'm not really sure. Like, it's funny to me, and I've talked about it before, but if I just am daydreaming and I'm like, maybe I'll walk to Atlanta, there's actually some amount of trepidation to do that, even though I just walked 800 miles through a bunch of random towns. Like, it's weird. Something feels different if I know the place. Like, I don't know. I can't quite put my finger on what it is, but it just feels like it feels less safe. I don't know. What is that? Some kind of weird survivor bias or otherwise strangely named psychological state. I don't know. Dang, 50 minutes? I was going to say, too, that it seems like a lot of the clips that I do early in the morning are usually going uphill, which I guess kind of makes sense because, like, especially recently, I was sleeping at places that were off of the mountains or in towns and stuff, so I guess that's fair. But well, I don't know. I mean, I finally crested it, so now it's all just ridge walking now. That truly is like Virginia. I don't know, dude. It would be fascinating to know so much more. Like, this is like one of those opportunities where if AI could infinitely generate content, like, I would be like, I want to see a documentary about, like, the Appalachian Mountains, Like, I want to know a broad, sweeping history from, like, I don't know, whatever the furthest, oldest documents about this area say, like Native American presence, people before that, like pre-industrial, post-industrial. I don't know, I'm sure a documentary like this already exists, but I don't know. It won't be long now for me personally. I mean, within reason, but extrapolating all the possibilities out. Like, I think that there will be a period. I don't know. This is weird to make a prediction. I don't actually know if this will happen, but I guess I'm tentatively foreseeing that, like, there will be a period where, like, when humans tell you how to do something, like, you, like, fundamentally won't believe that that's, like, the right way to do it or, like, the most efficient way to do it. I don't know, just because they'll have experience with, like, the perfect way it could be done, I was listening to this Hank Green interview on YouTube. Shout out to my dude James. Thanks for putting him on my radar. And he was talking about Anthropic's. Oh wow, there's still more to this hill. That's insane. This is the steepest bit I've seen. Wow. Well, scratch what I said about the road builder people being growing soft. That's definitely like a 10% grade at least. We'll see. But yeah, the Mythos thing. So it was really interesting, and if I understood it correctly, the most interesting thing about it was that basically Anthropic made this new model called Mythos, and it's funny because it doesn't sound real, this story. But basically, it sounds like such a stunt, but basically they got to a point where they were like, oh, we were going to release this on this date, but it's too powerful to release to the public at this point. And they are like going to be withholding the newest iteration until a bunch of insane things are addressed by major players in the tech ecosystem, Basically, it's insane. Like, it's so crazy. The specificity of detail in how this actually works is like so obviously. It's like oh, of course, like again, that because we anthropomorphize everything, and because we think that we're the best because we don't have any comparison, like when something comes along and looks at one of our systems in a way that human beings literally cannot look at the system, then you will immediately see like crucial flaws in our like internet infrastructure, you know? And again, that's what I'm saying. It's just like, well, you know, like AI is like an opportunity for something a little bit more close to an objective metric, you know? It's like, well, it's not necessarily any more true than anything else per se. Is this guy gonna be trying to give me a ride? Oh no. Oh man. It reminds me, you know, I wasn't thinking about getting a ride or even an offer for a ride today. But yesterday when I was talking to Amarion, or Amario, I can't remember, but he was asking me, I was telling him what my plan was, you know, take that bus, get on the train, go to Toccoa, walk 34 miles back to my parents' house. And he was like, why don't you have them come pick you up? And I was like, well, like, my dude, like, I told you, like, I just walked like 850 miles, like, it's a symbolic gesture, this walk, you know? But even still, symbolic or not, it's just like, I didn't stop walking on the Appalachian Trail because I don't like walking. I was just like, I think I've walked enough, you know? It's like, I went for a 41-day walk, you know? That's pretty long, or more than that, 44-day walk. You know, even the days I took off, I still would walk, you know, be leisurely. Yeah, that walking was like, felt like a treat. No pack, no restrictions on your back from the pack pushing into you. Man, it felt like, I don't know, getting out of a cast or something like that, you know? But in any case, Mythos. So, wow, that was quite a tangent before I interrupt myself. So Mythos basically is able to look at the back end of like a bunch of operating system platforms, I guess specifically Linux, and then also like a lot of enterprise level software and services. And it found millions of 0-day threats where, like, you know, there was a vulnerability that was in the software that could be exploited, and by that happening could create drastic consequences for the entirety of the system, you know, like talking about injection of ransomware or possibility of data leaks, you know, like because humans design them and we look at them a certain way, if you use a machine to look at the same system, you know, it has like, I'm trying to remember, oh man, high dimensional vector spaces, I think that's what it is. Like, you know, the connections that can be made on a single topic or a single system with that much focus and, you know, those many neural networks and everything. Like, it was just absolutely fascinating to hear about, because it's just like, of course, if aliens exist and they have different material sciences, as you'd expect they probably would, because they'd probably have to traverse distances that we have no idea how to traverse, like, their materials would be so drastically different, and the way even that we analyzed it would be based on our own understanding. We would like never see it from the perspective of a wholly different creature. And I can't believe, like, I know that the bulk of what this thing can do is like pretty well contained to tech-based applications. You know, that's where it definitely shines the strongest. But the crazy thing is, like, even though that's technically true that it seems like predominantly tech-specific, because if it's able to decode reality in a way that we have never been able to do because of our relatively limited perspective on reality, what was I gonna say? Dang, I totally Mythos. Hold on, I gotta think about this. Let me reverse engineer this. Mythos, something seeing reality as it actually is because of all the vectors. I don't know. That's such an exciting story. Oh, that's the thing. Yeah, so like fundamentally speaking, there is certainly gathering evidence, I would say, that like fundamental parts of life can be explained and manipulated through physics and through like, I don't know, math in a certain sense, like, or at least there can be a math applied to them, you know? So it's just crazy to think that like this way of applying our own knowledge in a novel and foreign way actually helps to see reality perhaps more clearly. I don't know. I suppose that's a little bit more of an anthropomorphism there, because it's like, well, is nature there? Is one of its purposes to be understood? Like, I don't know. That's a deep reflection, you know. I've always been intrigued by the image that Alan Watts uses, talking about looking through a microscope and seeing yourself looking back through the viewfinder in like an infinite loop. But yeah, like that's just crazy, you know. Like, I don't know. It's interesting. For the first time in my life, I'm considering bubble theories and like if it could actually all just be hype. I really don't think that it is. I think that it has caused a lot of authentic hype, which maybe is hard to distinguish from manufactured hype, you know? It's like manufactured hype, kind of like, what would you call that? It seems like a certain kind of a military thing that I'm thinking of, where like the actual purpose of the thing is hidden in the original intention, but it's felt like it's felt genuinely as the message proliferates through like a population or something like that, you know? Like if someone says they saw somebody fly, I don't know, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know. But one thing I do know is that I continue to be impressed by this hill and a little bit depressed by the sun. I do have my leggings close at hand because, as I've mentioned, or maybe I haven't. Have I mentioned that today's going to be a long day? Yeah, it is. But it's been fun so far. I'm enjoying it. You know, I'm a little gun shy because I'm just like, you know, I've been hurt before. Yesterday, as far as Virginia was concerned, that would have been the absolute perfect day for 30 plus miles, you know, like overcast, cool, a very nice breeze, like, you know, it was very comfortable, like a bit humid if anything, but it was like, you know, it was so comfortable to where it didn't really matter what I did with my clothes, like whether I buttoned my shirt up or kept it more open, like it felt pretty much the same. It was just very comfortable. Seems like distinctly Floridian, perhaps, but I did check the humidity and it was only 50%. But, you know, for me, as a kid, growing up with my most early and formative memories being there, like I didn't actually know I didn't know that humidity was a choice as far as the outdoors went, Like, I just assumed, as kind of made sense, like, in the summer, it's really hot and really muggy, and in the winter, it's less so. But, I just knew, like, we were never going to see snow, and that's because it was so hot. And I was just like, I guess, everyone probably has the same weather except for my cousins. My cousins live somewhere where it rains, but everyone else probably has the same weather. So it's like, just more or less snow, So humidity was an interesting effect. And yesterday it just felt like the perfect amount. And we got some like wispy clouds. Nothing substantial, like the sun would pass right through it, and the cloud would probably only block like 5% of its light, even if it was directly within the cloud, like they're so transparent, even I can see through them, not very substantial. And there's a nice breeze right now. Some pretty big trees, if I'm honest. These trees look at least as big as the ones on the Appalachian Trail, and I guess that makes sense. They're the same trees. It's important to remind myself that the Appalachian Trail is not a distinct ecosystem from the Appalachian Mountains that surround it, obviously with ups and downs, there's different types of microclimates that can be made from like alpine zones and everything that is below that, But in general, these are the mountains, Like very similar conditions occur here as do in other places that are certainly not like Florida. This is definitely a place that is not like Florida. And here I am, walking. Even though 985 will be annoying because it will be loud, and also there will be no shade. Ooh, that's true. So I'll need to switch into my leggings soon. But it's going to have a huge shoulder, which I look forward to, because this road has been fine. But, 985 has like a full breakdown lane, so I can pick whichever side of the road is more advantageous, with all things considered. And there really are like about 100,000 gas stations between where I'll get on 985 all the way to my parents' house. It's not obviously really that many, but there are a ton of gas stations out here. Like, it's pretty great because I think it's caused, a certain amount of competition. And so, you have some major player gas stations that are actually kind of nice to go to, which is cool. Because, I've been to my fair share of gas stations, and they all have a vibe, but there's almost nothing better than being like really wanting a little bit more of a sure thing. Like, when you go to a Quick Trip or a Circle K for the most part, or like what I had in Virginia, Sheetz, like you have a very firm expectation of what that means, And sometimes in the country, you have no idea what you're gonna get. Like, I've seen just about everything I can imagine, from like stuff that looks like it's like a military ration from like the 1950s, all the way up to food made to order, my dude. It's just like, you just never know. So the competition is good, and I'm excited to have such a full support like system. The gas stations here are so closely packed together that it's like it's almost like being on the interstate. I mean, I guess it technically is the interstate. Like, 985 is born out of 85. I actually don't even know if you're allowed to walk on it, now that I think about it. I'm sure you probably are. Again, the breakdown lane is massive. And yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? I think that you do. Well, that was very rambly, but that's what I'm saying. This is like my favorite time of day because it's just the time where everything is still as close to 100% as it's going to be. You know, attitude's good, morale is good, weather's good. If there's a time to make a record of what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling, like, it's definitely moments like this, for sure. Even if it's this is the kind of data I want to record, you know, the good stuff, being like, yeah, like, isn't life so interesting, etc. Like, I want to encourage more of that that type of thinking, and so I honor it by recording it. And thank you for listening. I'm sure that was quite a ride. Shout out to my parents. Love you. Bye.